How's it rockin', Dween Nation? This is the Dween Sports Podcast. We're about to get underway. But before we do, we'd love if you could like, comment, subscribe, or share. We are posting weekly sports content, and we want to build up the brand that is Dween Sports. Thank you all, and enjoy.
Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Paez, alongside Genoa Agudelo, and we're here to discuss the AFC West. As you know, if you've seen some of our episodes, we're doing a deep dive into every NFL team, how their free agency went, how the offseason is looking, and how we think the draft is going to alter things heading into the 2025 season. So there's a lot to discuss. We've already done the NFC East. Now we're jumping to the AFC West. But before we dive into these teams, how you doing, Genoa?
Yo, Dween Nation. Justin, it's always a great day when you can just sit back and talk about NFC or NFL football on a random Tuesday and the last Tuesday on March there, Justin. So it's always good, Justin. We're still, 4.5, maybe 5 months from kickoff there. Who are the Eagles we will be kicking off there? But, hey, this is really fun. I'm excited to get in every team there because one of these teams, Justin, are going to win the Super Bowl next year. Breaking news. So I'm excited to see I'm excited to see what team we were right about there, but it's always fun to talk about football with you, my brother. And hey, we are on the road to the draft, on the road to the end of the free agency, getting a little bit into some mini camps, not so far away and not so long away, Justin. We will be drafting mock drafts very soon. But before we get a little ahead of ourselves, we got to talk about these teams for sure.
Yeah, and we need to just analyze if we think these teams have an upward motion going into next year, a downward motion, if they're kind of plateau, neutral, and what changes are causing us to think that way. And let's start with the team that lost the Super Bowl, the team that, was the champion of the AFC, that has been the champion of the AFC for multiple years now, and has the best quarterback, best coach in the league. But they got pummeled in the Super Bowl. And heading into this offseason, there has been some very clear changes to this team. For one, this team has lost Joe Thuney, offensive lineman, an offensive line that got demolished by the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. They also lose Justin Reed to the Saints. And we just look at this team where, unfortunately, they had a star in the making wide receiver in Rashee Rice go out with the torn ACL. But then at the end of the year, you had Xavier Worthy really step in and become a star. Now they go into a season where hopefully Rashee Rice is recovered by then, but there's also a possible looming suspension. So the receiver room has some questions, but also some really solid upside, in my opinion, heading into next year. Then you look at the running back room. You got Pacheco on a contract year. They re-signed Kareem Hunt, but the draft is ahead. There could be a possible signing there. And then you look, Travis Kelce is returning to this team for probably his last season, I would think.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the state of the Kansas City Chiefs. They downgraded at O-line. They downgraded in the secondary on their defense, but their defense should still be very strong heading into next year. And then some of their offensive pieces are returning from injury or were re-signed. But overall, what are your thoughts on what the Chiefs have done and what they look like heading into next year?
Yeah, Justin. Well, first of all, I think they also lost Justin Reed. I think he went to the Saints there. And I think that's a little bit of because he was really good. But one thing that, before I can get into what Kansas City needs to do, they still have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Steve Spagnuolo. So that is the big three in Kansas City. Yes, Travis Kelce is part of that as well. But the main three cores there, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Spags. The head coach, right, that makes the critical plays. The quarterback that makes the plays we need it, and the coach, the defensive-minded guru who is first ballot there. I mean, the guy has been able to win a Super Bowl, stopping one of the best dynasties of all time, and then he was a part of the Kansas City dynasty as being one of the defenses to win back-to-back Super Bowls and could have won a third one. But these three people are there. They're still going to be in contention. They're still going to be at least a 10-11 win team there. But let's get into the O-line, right? You mentioned they lost Joe Thuney, and they lost a couple other linemen that was really critical. And I think that they're going to go to the draft for sure for offensive linemen. And I'm not really worried about Kansas City there because, they could go this whole draft without getting a playmaker, a wide receiver, a tight end. And yes, Rashee Rice could start the season suspended or could be suspended all season. I still think that Andy Reid will find a new weapon, a new toy for Patrick Mahomes to work with, and the offense will be just fine. The biggest question is, will he have the protection there? Because now, seeing what the Eagles were able to do in the Super Bowl, many teams now have been the last month and a half since the confetti rain in New Orleans. These defensive coordinators are studying day in and day out, especially AFC coordinators, right? They're going to be seeing Patrick Mahomes once to twice a season. So now they're going to emulate what Philadelphia is going to do. So what can Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, this offensive, Matt Nagy, this offensive, coaching staff, what can they do to increase pass protection for Patrick Mahomes? Because that's really the only thing I think Kansas City needs. Yes, Pacheco had a weird season. He was hurt, came back, didn't really do much. Kareem Hunt was kind of good when Pacheco was out. Pacheco came back. He was not really existent. I still think that they both can have really good seasons depending on how they're used. Xavier Worthy can have a good season. Hell, even Travis Kelce can come back and have 2021 Travis Kelce, 2022 Travis Kelce numbers, which he's leading the league in like reception, yards, They need to get offensive line. I think just like they did a couple years ago where they drafted like Creed Humphrey and they traded for one of the linemen from Baltimore and their offensive line was good. That's kind of what they're going to do in this draft. I think that there's going to be some moves made in the summer that boosts and beefs up their offensive line. That's really the biggest concern with Kansas City. I think if they can get their offensive line together, there's no doubt they're winning the division again and will potentially host or at least be in the AFC Championship again next year.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you to the fact that I don't think that they're going to make any changes to their skill position players.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're set there. They re-signed Juju. They re-signed Hollywood Brown. Rashee Rice will return at some point in the season, either after returning from a suspension and his injury. And then Xavier Worthy as well will be there. So I think that they're fine with their wide receiver room, even though it's not spectacular. And then I think maybe the biggest possible thing that they could do at pick 31 is maybe draft Travis Kelce's replacement, maybe get themselves Colston Loveland out of Michigan. I think would be a really interesting play there if he lands there. But yeah, O-line is the biggest concern for this team. It was exposed with a big magnifying glass in the Super Bowl, and they've gotten rid of pieces. So they need to retool this offensive line big time. And I agree. There's a lot of good O-linemen in this first round of the NFL draft. Okay. So I think there's even a possibility they move up in the draft to kind of get a guy that can be a stalwart on their offensive line. But other than that, there's not much more to discuss. I think that Pacheco and Hunt might do a little bit of canceling out in this upcoming season where they're not top 15, maybe not even top 20 running back plays. They could be a flex option. But I think whichever guy becomes the goal line back will be the guy to own. But I think that they're going to share a very good amount heading into next year. I'm still going to lean Pacheco as my guy to pick over Kareem Hunt just because of age, contract year. But yeah, I think that's kind of where it stands for the Chiefs running back room. For the wide receivers, though, just say, let's put in some hypothetical scenarios. Just say this first scenario is Rashee Rice is back and not suspended week 1. Where do you draft them? Is it Rashee Rice over Worthy? What do you kind of, handle for these two wide receivers?
Justin, absolutely. I mean, people forget the tear Rashee Rice was on before he got hurt there. And I am definitely drafting him over Worthy. And Justin, if it's official that he is playing, he is healthy. Obviously, he did tear his ACL, I think week 3 or 4, maybe 5 in LA. If he's healthy and he is good to go for the season, Justin, I'm picking him. I want to say in the third or fourth round for sure. He's gone because Justin, he was on a tear there. Justin, I mean,
he was wide receiver 1 until he got injured.
Oh yeah, and even Justin, the last part of 2023 season where they won the Super Bowl against San Francisco, that back half of the season too, he was phenomenal. He was a rookie that year. No one really thought, this guy at SMU was really going to – but you got to remember, this is an Andy Reid offense and a Patrick Mahomes, one of the best quarterbacks of this league's history in this decade for sure. He is the face of this decade. This is a guy that, he is hungry to win that 4th Super Bowl. That 3rd loss there, Justin, not to mention, Patty's got a haircut, and that looks like he's out for blood this upcoming year. Yeah. I'm a little intimidated about this Chiefs offense. Rashee Rice, if he's healthy, Justin, he plays the whole year. He will lead the league in receiving yards. Mark my word.
Ooh.
He will end the season. I want to say 1,400. That's still a little low when you have Jamar and Jefferson chasing you. He would end the season, I would think, about 1,600 to 1,700 yards receiving. I would say he is kind of third and fourth in rankings as far as touchdowns, catches. I think there's other receivers that are capable of receiving yards. Justin, I want to make a prediction. If he's healthy and he is not suspended, he will lead the league in receiving yards, and he will have the most 100-yard games this upcoming year. I'm predicting it. Third or fourth pick, you got yourself a fantasy league winner. But that is the big cloud, the big if he's healthy and if he's not suspended. So there's two things you got to worry about. Kind of a little bit comparison to last year, Jamar Chase, right? I was thinking of picking him in our elite league, but there was a contract situation. He was kind of dinged up. Burrow was a little dinged up. And I think that's kind of the situation we're going to head into this fantasy draft season where Rashee Rice, do we pick him? Do we not? But if he plays, Justin, he is the guy for sure.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I'm going to have to be a little contrary to that just because I think even if he's good to go week 1, I really think that injury coming off a torn ACL, he will have a slower year. He'll still be the guy I pick over Worthy, but I think he would maybe be a 4th rounder. Worthy would be maybe a 7th rounder. But let's play the other side of the coin where regardless, just say Rice is suspended 10 games or he's out for a while because of his injury and he doesn't come back till around week 10. Where I would at that point make Rice an undraftable player. I'm not going to hold a guy on my bench for that long unless I can put him on my IR. But if that is the case, where does Worthy go in drafts and what is your outlook with him?
So if Rice is out, I like Xavier Worthy to move up to a great 5th round pick there, Justin. Okay. I think people might overdraft him in the 4th there. I think they're going to feel a little, they want to get ahead of the curve. They want to pick their steal. They might go in the 4th. But I like 5th or 6th there. It's a guy that you can pick up and feel really good starting him week 1, whoever they play week 1. Because I think that, hey, from week 1, I think Mahomes and this Chiefs offense might sense that this could be their last year as a core. Maybe with Spags, maybe with Andy Reid, maybe like you mentioned, Travis Kelce. So I think that Mahomes, he's kind of the only for sure piece for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in Kansas City. And I think that they're going to want to go all out this year. Defense, offense, they're going to have a different season than they had last year where they were winning by 1 or 2 possessions. This is going to be a team that's going to want to blow you out from 15 minutes into the first quarter. I think that Worthy is the guy they're going to go to. They're going to have, Justin, I think if Rashee Rice is out, I want to let Dween Nation know there's going to be another guy there, right? Hopkins is in Baltimore. I think they did re-sign Hollywood Brown, so he should be good to go. Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy. I do think that they're going to be another guy there because I don't think Sky Moore is on the team anymore. He could be, but he's not going to be utilized. There's going to be another guy there, 4th or 5th round pick, a rookie that they're going to throw in there. That's an Andy Reid thing, a guy that you don't know what's he's about. So kind of look at about the top 10 wide receivers there in the draft right now. Look about the 12th to 13th ranked wide receiver, and that will be the guy that Andy Reid will use. And Patrick Mahomes is going to say, hey, come over here. You're our 3rd guy. And that's going to be the guy that's going to get a lot of target, a lot of volume. So beware for that.
Okay. That's good to know. For me, I agree. I think Worthy lands himself in like a 4th, 5th round spot if there's no Rashee Rice. But I think he would be a guy that will be a very solid pick. Like I think with no Rice, he will be one of the safer picks in my opinion, even though he really didn't come on till the very end of his rookie season. But I guess last guy to cover before we jump to our next team is Travis Kelce. His last stand, his last dance, most likely with the NFL, but with the Chiefs in this season. Where would you draft him at tight end? Like, what kind of number would you have on him? Obviously, you got Bowers, you got McBride, you got Kittle, you got Laporta, and I think I would throw him at like 5 right there after Laporta. But what about you? What are your thoughts of where Kelce would land?
Yeah, Justin, I think 5 is perfect there. You don't want to underestimate him too much. He is Travis Kelce. And I think this Super Bowl loss has done a lot of good things actually for Kansas City going forward. If they want to hoist 1 or 2 more, as long as they got that core together. I draft him. I'm thinking 5th or 6th round and I'd say he's ranked tight end 5. I know the past 3, 4, 5 years he's been drafted. I think one year you draft him at the end of the 1st round, if I'm not mistaken, going into 2nd. I know my brother Jess, I think he drafted him kind of early this past season. I think he's going to fall to 5 or 6 just because how inconsistent he was the whole season there, Justin. I don't think he had a 100-yard game, only like 1 or 2 weeks there. Yeah, and it's as far as the regular season, he was really cold, and then he went off against my Texans, of course, and then was kind of quiet AFC Championship, very quiet in the Super Bowl. So I think that he'll have a bounce back year. I think it's definitely his last ride, his last dance there. So definitely pay attention. If you do draft Travis Kelce, it's important to get his handcuff there, which would be, I believe, Noah Gray or Jared Wiley, maybe. Who knows? Not to mention, the Chiefs do like to get their draft steals. Andy Reid, historically, even when he was in Philadelphia, his Journey Macklins, his Deshaun Jacksons, these guys that are not so flashy going into the draft, but you pick them and you draft them, you're like, oh, he can fit in that offense. So definitely look out for that, Justin, because they could pick a next wide receiver, a next tight end. It might not be Noah Gray. It might not be Jared Wiley. So just you never know with Andy Reid in this offense. You just never know. The only for sure thing in this offense is the quarterback.
That's right. It is Mahomes. And Mahomes kind of finds himself as a low-end to be a high-end quarterback too. Like, he's not a guy I'm going to love to have as my quarterback one. I think the big plus is that this team, hopefully, they go from being the hunted, being the top of the mountain team to a team that is hunting. And that is where we saw the best Patrick Mahomes we had ever seen, MVP years. So I really hope that it brings a new edge to this Chiefs team where they don't just rely so much on the defense, and that we actually see some juice on the offense. But that's kind of the hope if you're a Chiefs fan, is that, you lose, you get embarrassed in the Super Bowl, and you really turn it around and become a team that's on the hunt for your Super Bowl, for a Super Bowl to come back to. So I like that for the